Hey, what's up y'all? I'm back with another video like I said I would be. Thank you all for watching the last one, and if you're watching this now, thanks for tuning in. Got a question on the last video from Jan Esterlis. I hope I'm saying your name right, Jan. Let me know if I butchered it. I apologize, but this is for you. You said you'd like to dive a little deeper into altered dominance, specifically the half-whole diminished scale and how it applies to altered dominance. Great idea. Let's go with that. Now, there are so many things to talk about with diminished scales and altered dominance. We just can't do it all in one video. We could do it maybe with a whole semester, but not in this video. So I'm going to pull just a couple of things out of there and hopefully try to make this a little easier for you to navigate. Now, in the last video, I talked about triads. So I'm going to take that idea and bring it over to this video as well. We're going to stick to the key of B flat today. Good old B flat 7, like a B flat blues. Okay, and the scale we'll be using is the B flat half whole diminished. So starting on B flat, we've got half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, etc. Into infinity. Okay, great. It's a great scale, great sound, and there's a lot of little things in there that we can use to our advantage. So let's talk about the triads. Now we can pull 4 major triads out of that scale that I just played. A B flat major triad, a D flat major triad, an E major triad, and a G major triad. Now you'll notice these are all major triads and they're each a minor third apart, or a diminished third apart, right? Now if we wanted to, we could also lower the third, because there's only a half step difference in the major and minor third, and play 4 minor triads. You'll notice that they all work as well. So there you go, right off the bat, some new cool stuff that, if you didn't know that already, some of you may, but if you do, you're probably not watching this video. We've got these triads that are all coming out of the notes in that scale. So what I recommend to do is, just like we did on the last video, take these triads and learn to navigate them easily in a way that that outlines a diminished sound. So one way of doing that, let's start here on B flat. Now if we go right up the scale on this one string, on the 4th string, like so, we can build a major triad on top of each of those notes. So B flat's where we're starting. Now we move that B up to a B natural or a C flat. I don't know whatever. And that is obviously that's the major third of a G. So we'll just build a G major triad. So we've got 2 triads that are a minor third apart, but we're barely moving, because we're just changing the inversion. Now, let's move him up a whole step now, because that's the next note. D flat. So we'll play our D flat major triad. Now, raise that up a half step to D natural. That's the major third of B flat. Once again. So we started on B flat, and then we're working our way back up to B flat. Now move that up a whole step. E major triad. And of course, move that up a half step to F. You get the third of D flat. So we're just building a major triad off of each note of this scale. So cool. It builds tension, it builds motion, it gives you some things to do when you're comping. And you're increasing your fretboard understanding. You can arpeggiate these. And just kind of make simple melodies out of those. Not only does it give you options for making melodies, but you're just getting so much out of that. You know, the fretboard is starting to become familiar, you know. You're not just looking at the one little shape that you know. Now something else that's important is learning those chords, you know, in other inversions, other ways to do them with like the smallest amount of motion possible. I mean, sometimes you want a lot of motion, but not today. So we'll take our B flat here, move it up to that G. Now look, I can just bar these 3 and make an E major triad. So I was here playing a G with the B in the bass. Well, B is also the 5th scale degree of E major, so we just borrow those. We got an E major triad. Then move that down a minor 3rd, and we've got our D flat major triad. Or you can play it there. You know, not a lot of motion. Cool stuff. So once again, you know, stress the importance of learning all the chords and the inversions and just different ways of doing it. You know, you can play diminished chords, or you can play triads or anything, but it's just important to know where it all is. Now, of course, if you're just going to play diminished chords for this kind of sound, it's actually going to be a little easier in a lot of ways, because now we're dealing with the whole symmetrically altered scale. So we've got like one chord shape, for instance. We'll do a flat 9, B flat. We've got all 4 notes. Now we can just move that up minor 3rds once again, because diminished thirds. Another inversion of the same chord, same shape and everything. And you can build that off of the flat 2, the major 3rd, the perfect 5th, and the flat 7. Just remember that if you land on any of those notes, you'll be in a safe spot to play like a diminished arpeggio, etc., etc. Now, once we get these little triads under our fingers, we can start exploring ways to just use them to build little simple melodies. So if I'm down here in B flat, you know, I can look here and be like, oh, here's a B flat triad that's really close to an E major triad. So right there, we've got some building blocks, some stuff for the recipe. And we can do that kind of thing. There's a D flat triad. Of course, I'm not just playing diminished stuff right there, but you know, I don't think you'll ever play a blues solo where all you do is play a diminished scale. But for the purposes of this, we are. Now, let's say you want to make sure you're always playing the correct diminished scale as it relates to the scale degrees in the chord. For a blues, here's a cool trick. Let's say we're going to play our B flat diminished, our half whole diminished. There's the 1, right? We're starting on B flat. Now when we go to our E flat, we can just move this scale down a half step. And we can look at it as an A natural half whole diminished. Move that down a whole step again. You know, we've got the 3rd from E flat, and then we've got all the other juicy notes, just like we did for the B flat scale. Now for the 5, do the exact same thing, but move it up a half step the other direction. B natural half whole. So for the B flat, we'll play a B flat half whole. For the E flat, which is the 4 chord, we'll play an A natural half whole. And then for the F, which is our 5 chord, we'll play B natural half whole. In a jazz blues, a lot of times, or not always in jazz blues, but other blueses, for the turnaround right before you go to the 5 chord, we'll do like a 6 chord and make it a dominant. Well, in this case, G7. That same B flat half whole scale works over that chord because G is a minor third down from B flat, so you don't have to change for that. And then we'll do a 2-5. Now, got my little looper going here. I'm gonna loop a blues vamp and play those scales again so you can get a good idea of what I was talking about. There's our 4 chord, back to the 1, B flat, A natural for the 4. Back to B flat. Now B natural. Does that make sense? So B flat, half whole, A natural, half whole, B flat, half whole. An A natural. B natural. Back to B flat. More time here, so B flat, A natural, B flat, I don't expect you to just play a diminished scale every time you're doing a blues, but you know, I'm just giving you the references for where that scale will work. Now, you know, we can learn licks all day, or just make your own licks. You know, take those triads and create simple melodies, just like we were doing down here with this B flat. One last little thing I'll give you to help you create licks. There are some safe spots with this diminished scale that you can always kind of think of. So right here I'm on my B flat. These 2 notes here, these work right in a blues or diminished context, alter dominant. Well, the 3rd string, same shape. So think of that as like a rectangular shaped box. You can even fill in the walls on the side. You can also, on the 2nd string and 4th string, there's where you would fill in, you know, the rest of the rectangle on those strings. Think of that as a small little box, a little cube. Right here you've got this half step. Anything that works on the 1st string is going to work on the 3rd string as well in the diminished context. And same thing for the 2nd string and 4th string. Really cool stuff. Good old symmetrically altered stuff. Hope that gave you enough stuff to think about. We can do lots more videos on diminished chords and scales and altered dominants. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful. Let me know in the comments if that's something you would like to keep doing. If you'd like to go further, try to let me know. You know, put something in the comments to let me know what you would like. I appreciate the feedback on these videos. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Have fun with those diminished licks.